Another round of winter weather getting underway in the parts of the eastern U.S., and it actually covers a lot of geography, and we'll break it all down, and also maybe just a little bit of controversy. We'll talk about that. I'm the part of that controversy. I'm the one who started it. We'll look at what this storm system will bring, and we'll take a look at what the weekend has to offer, and do a little peeking into the long range, as we always do on uh, most nights. So let's get started here on Thursday, the 18th of January, 2024. This is the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, brought to you by Tempest by WeatherFlow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the descriptor to this video. Tempest is an affiliate of the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We have a new coupon code. The
A
coupon,
new one.
yes, a new one. The new coupon code is Winter 2324. And if you use the coupon code for any purchase, you will get
I hope we still get 10% off.
indubitably. Well, all right. So here we are, and as I said in the open, Joe, a bit of controversy as far as the forecasts are concerned. I have torn my hair out of my head. I have looked at every single model you could possibly think of, even models I found that were didn't know existed. There's one that apparently is experimental and hasn't even been released publicly yet. Uh, and I just, look, we're all going to know at this time tomorrow night when it's all said and done. And they've got their forecast and I've got mine. I'm hard pressed to think why they went. By they, I mean Mount Weather Service, Mount Holly. And I love you guys. Don't get me wrong, but I went nowhere near what they did.
Well, I somebody sent me on Facebook a comment saying, "Are we really going to get more than 6 inches here in Central Jersey?" One Philadelphia weathercaster is talking about a Norland trough, which could bring a locally heavy amount or a heavy burst of snow over Central New Jersey and maybe even Philadelphia.
Well, look, I'm not going to say it's impossible, and it would not be the first time that weather models will have underdone a snow event. In this case, it would be, at least the way things have been going, way underdone. But I tell you this: I had my early call forecast map, and then I did my final call, which was close. I had to make some changes on it, but it was fairly close to what I had before. And then I drew a second map, and I just waited till about 4 o'clock this afternoon, and I decided to go with the second map, which was lower. I just could not bring myself to do, and I didn't go as even on the first map I did. I did not go anywhere close to uh, what the Mount Holly numbers were. But why don't we show them, because I have them all set to go? Shall we?
Surely, and then I've got my map if you want to take a look.
Okay.
Mr. Mr. Tom Kino. Tom Condino said, "Let's hope Rayo shows a map tonight."
And
All right, I'm
we're all
listening
gonna.
to you, Tom.
Welcome to everybody.
One.
Welcome to everybody tonight on the chat board to the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Our regulars are all here. And welcome to those of you who are not on the chat board, but you're watching and enjoying the show, I hope. If you do, hit the like button, because we always love it when we go over 100 likes, and maybe even over 200 likes if we get lucky. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and make sure you turn your notifications on, because we are on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and Fridays and Saturdays are usually off days for us. We have decided not to do a show tomorrow night, because by the time we come on, the snow will be over. And
We hope.
yeah. And hopefully I'm not, and it won't be because I'm running and hiding. If it turns out I'm wrong, I will, as always, and own it and admit it. I don't do that. Run away and hide, pretending like it never happened, because there are a lot of people that do that, but I've never have. In the few times that that's happened, please help us. So we'll see. But we're going to take tomorrow and Saturday off, and so we'll be back on regular schedule, which would be Sunday at 7:35 p.m. So let's get started here. Going to start with that one. Yes. Okay. And hopefully no technical problems tonight, folks. I cleaned up my computer. I'm getting a new one late next week. So let's keep our fingers crossed. All right. We have winter weather advisories up for Long Island and New Jersey, not for the Hudson Valley. Correct? And did they put it up for southern Westchester?
They did include southern Westchester, but
Okay.
all areas north of there, no. And it's interesting. The winter weather advisory for southern Westchester is for 1 to 3 inches. And north of there, where there is no advisory, they're going for 1 to 2 inches. Oh.
Okay.
Voila.
Yes.
For the lack of 1 extra inch, the folks across much of the lower Hudson Valley do not get into an advisory, but because they're going 1 to 3 for southern Westchester, south of 287, they are accredited with a winter weather advisory.
Well,
so there.
Well, I'm going to take a guess here that they might have decided that why don't for that area, if things look a bit juicier, they'll put the advisory up tomorrow morning, a little further north.
Yeah, well, originally there were, and this is something rather unusual. And the thing that makes this unusual is that everybody was under a winter weather advisory until this afternoon, and then they kind of cleaned everything up and said, all right, places north don't get any advisory, but southern Westchester and Point South, you're in the advisory. Now, you even got a winter storm warning for the central part of New Jersey.
Right, Monmouth and Ocean counties, Burlington, Mercer, and a couple of others that don't come to mind at the moment. Also, in southeastern Pennsylvania, we have winter storm warnings up, and that includes the city of Philadelphia, down into northern half of Delaware with Wilmington in a winter storm warning. Winter weather advisories for central Delaware, which includes Dover. We have winter weather advisories for the northern half of Virginia, and that includes Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. Winter weather advisories in western Pennsylvania, winter storm warnings along the lakefront of Lake Erie, which includes Cleveland and Akron. Winter storm warnings up for West Virginia, almost the whole state of West Virginia under a winter storm warning. And here's the wider view. They've got winter weather advisories up for my county here, Joe. We'll see what happens this time, whether we get a snowflake out of this. But the northernmost counties under a winter weather advisory, the northern counties of Alabama, much of central and eastern Tennessee, northwestern Tennessee, all of Kentucky, southwestern Virginia, Ohio, where it's not the winter storm warning near the lakefront, it's all winter weather advisories in Ohio, central and northern Indiana, winter storm warnings around the lakefront of Lake Michigan in Indiana, winter weather advisories in southern parts of Michigan, the northern half of Illinois, much of Iowa, into Nebraska, north and west through South Dakota, into North Dakota, and into eastern Montana. We also have some winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings up for Washington and State and Oregon. And all right, so let's look at these forecasts. So we'll start with this is, nope, that's not it. Where'd it go? Okay, so this one here. So this is, well, I'll start with Upton. This is Weather Service in Upton. So I would just point out that on virtually all the models that I've looked at, these amounts are higher than guidance by 50 to 50 to 100% higher. So just pointing that out. But 2 to 3 inches across Long Island, 3 inches in and around New York City, 2 to 3 inches the northeastern counties of New Jersey, and southern Westchester, including White Plains. And then there's a strip there in Orange County near the Rockland and Orange County and the New York State line that they've got the 2.2 inch line, or I guess, so the 2 inch line, and then generally under 2 inches for southern Connecticut, under an inch when you get into central and northern Connecticut, and then further up the Hudson Valley toward the Catskills, we're talking 1 to 2. Now, Mount Holly for New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania down into Delaware and Maryland, we have 3 to 4. Now, they've got up to 4 in northwest Jersey, Joe. Not impossible, I suppose. Also in around Mount Pocono in northeastern Pennsylvania. Then you have 4 to 6 for Somerset County. They have 4 to 6 for Mercer County. Monmouth County, eastern Monmouth County, 4 to 6 at Long Branch. Eastern Ocean County, Toms River at 3 to 4. Further south, less than an inch in Atlantic City, Vineland, Millville, 3 to 4. Wilmington, 4 to 6. Drops down to 1 to 2, down to Dover. And let me see, I could see if I could try to pull up the, go down into Washington and Baltimore and see what they're doing there. All right, so this is Washington's zone. Let's go to the winter weather box and get their map. So this is the, as soon as it lets me, I got to open up in another window. Hang on, folks. Getting there. All right, it's hard for me. For some reason, don't you love it when the page is unresponsive? Wait. This is a show, okay? We don't have time to wait. Finally. Nope. Didn't do it. Let's try it one more time. Okay. And let's open up the image in a new tab. Okay, so here's Washington, 2 to 3 for Baltimore, 2 to 3 for Washington, Annapolis 2 to 3, go up to Leesburg and Frederick at Hagerstown, it's 3 to 4, Winchester 3 to 4, Romney 3 to 4. Then the amounts drop off further south. You get down into a little more into central Virginia. They're looking at 2 to 3 inches, and then down at Harrisonburg, Staunton 1 to 2, Charlottesville less than an inch, Fredericksburg less than an inch. And it tails off as you go southeast toward Chesapeake Bay. And then you can also see near the West Virginia line, now this makes sense up in the central Appalachians, so they've got some 8 to 12 inch amounts forecast for that region. I actually have less of a problem with the numbers as you go further south than I do with the numbers north of here. So, that's them. Now, I either am going to be very, very right or very, very wrong, Joe, because on my map, which I have here somewhere, where are we going? Is that it? Yeah. So now I had it 3 to 4 inches. I decided to go with a general area of 2 to 3 inches covering the state of New Jersey to about New York City and western Long Island, and just mention that. In central and parts of central and South Jersey and southeastern Pennsylvania, there could be some 4-inch amounts in some places. But I just could not go any higher than that. And then I have 1 to 2 at Baltimore, and then I have the inch line, running down near Washington. So I have Washington and Baltimore basically in a zone of 1 to 2. So I'm a little lower than what the folks at those Weather Service offices are going for. And as you could see, for Connecticut up into Massachusetts, southeastern, I probably could have put a couple of inches for southeastern New England. I also put less than an inch for eastern Long Island, so they're in that coating to an inch zone. I probably could have, as I said, put a few inches for southeastern New England, but generally those areas are going to see far less.
It's interesting that looking at your map is one. What's the word I'm looking for? One notch or one unit higher. I mean, you have basically the same areas covered in that my map covers. It's only like, for example, where you have 1 to 2 inches, I put a coating to an inch. Where you have 2 to 3 inches, I had 1 to 2. I did have an extension from right around Staten Island and points south of 2 to 4 inches. And in fact, I don't go much further south than, let's say, Sandy Hook. But I would probably have
Well,
added
in the
maybe.
future, you should go further south than Sandy Hook because we do have folks that watch from Central and South Jersey and in Eastern Pennsylvania, and they would love to have your never to be humble opinion.
Well, I can just simply say it here that for places south of Sandy Hook, I would have gone perhaps 4 to 6 inches. I did go for, or was thinking more in terms of central New Jersey, and lesser amounts as you go up to the north and to the northeast.
Okay. Well, are you going to put your map up on the screen? Because you can share it if you'd like.
All right, I will do that. It is coming right now in glorious black and white, I might add. And there you see that for most of northern New Jersey, I've got 1 to 2 inches. For the Bronx, upper Manhattan, also 1 to 2 inches, and Nassau County as well, 1 to 2. And then I had that extension you see here, almost poking like a finger up into, well, actually, just barely getting into Brooklyn, but encompassing Staten Island and areas generally to the south of 78 in New Jersey, 2 to 4 inches. Meanwhile, up across the lower Hudson Valley, including where I am, with the exception of southern Westchester, most of the lower Hudson Valley, I'm calling for a coating to 1 inch. And in fact, if you go way to the north, up to extreme northern Ulster County or northern sections of Dutchess, and throughout, well, I'd say the northern 2/3 of Connecticut, little or no accumulation. That also applies at least up toward the capital district, up toward Albany. Little or no accumulation of snow. I will snow, but it's not going to be. It's not going to amount, I think, all that much. And yes, Tom Contino, Joe Rayo has only a coating to 1 inch for central Suffolk County. And we'll see
Well,
what
I have
happens.
sort of an inch. I have the line going through your living room, Tom, the 1 to 2 inch line. So if you're in your kitchen, you'll get a coating to 1 inch, but if you're in your living room, you could get 1 to 2.
I don't know how I could take this. Bobby Livingsworth says Rayo doesn't have much of anything. I could take that two ways, Bobby.
Well, we're a wholesome family program, Joe.
Yes.
David Fuller hits the tip jar tonight. Thanks, David. What time would this start for me? I'm headed to work at 5. I kind of gave a general broad brush start. If you're in eastern Pennsylvania, south central Pennsylvania, I was thinking a start time of about between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. And everybody else will probably see their snowfall in that 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. time frame. It looked pretty neat to just kind of say it that way. Plus or
And
minus, plus or minus an hour or so.
we actually had some light snow showers cross through portions of the Hudson Valley today.
Yes, also Long Island got a few.
And yeah, Joe Rayo, I'd love for you to extend your snow maps further south to include my area, says David Fuller. Well, there's a possibility that I might do that one of these fine days.
And he hit super chat a second time.
Yes.
Thank you. So he tipped you he gave you a tip for you to do that map further south.
Yeah.
Please do. All right, unshare if you would.
No.
I can't. We can't go forward with our marvelous program.
All right. Well,
there we are.
I've done that.
All right. So I've got my reasons, by the way. But before I say it, Nicky Cupcake just hit the tip jar. Thank you, Nicky Cupcake. I love that. Another great name on the chat board. I've got my reasons, and one of the interesting things is let me bring up. I'm going to bring up the GFS. I could bring up any model that will illustrate my point. So this is for 7 o'clock tonight, which was the 18Z map. So this is this is the 6-hour forecast. Some light snow. See the light snow in Iowa is that next Arctic air mass. The next big high comes down. So you got the snow there in southern Minnesota and in eastern Nebraska, southeastern South Dakota. Then you've got this separate area of rain in northern Mississippi and Alabama that turns to some freezing rain and sleet in central Tennessee and then becomes snow over in Kentucky. So one of my arguments yesterday, and this is something that Mount Holly pointed out in their discussion about what they think might happen today. I was on the beefier side yesterday because I what my thought was that as the upper trough swings eastward, and if you look here to this is at 1 a.m. There's actually, even though it doesn't print it, there's a closed isobar here in eastern Kentucky, and then of course you've got a low now that's starting.
Actually, we're up to 121. I'm a little behind. Thank you, dear. She's asking for the maps, Joe.
Oh, thank you. I'm so focused right now.
The executive producer just arrived. She was out doing some late shopping. And the first thing she did when she got home from shopping was to tune in the Joe and Joe show and immediately set us straight on what we were not doing or what we were doing.
Well, good. That's
Okay.
good.
Right.
So this is at 1 a.m. and you've got this low that's developing, that's starting out off the coast of North Carolina. You've got a low that is also in eastern Kentucky and in West Virginia. Now, my feeling was that this low was going to go out far enough to the east so that this low would reform with the upper trough. In other words, you'll have the one low out here, and there would be an isobar that would go all the way back to reflect this second low. And it was from this that you probably could have put down a decent amount of snowfall. By decent, I mean 3, 4, 5-inch amounts in some places. But what seems to me to be happening is that this coastal low is intensifying and basically absorbing that low that's in West Virginia, so that and doing it a lot faster than modeled. So now you're left with one low that is way out tomorrow afternoon. It's sitting at roughly 36 and a half and 70. Okay. And running out to the east-northeast like a rocket ship. So what you're left with is snow being produced by that upper trough. Now, you have to be careful because sometimes those upper troughs can go nuts on you. As you pointed out, maybe some kind of Norland trough that comes around the backside. But you could also make the case that once that low starts to pull away, and if there's no surface reflection of that upper low, that you're going to start to get drier air to come in during tomorrow afternoon and start whittling away. And in fact, if we look at the GFS moisture field, you'll see the radar presentation of the GFS, that kind of happens. So if looking at this, I mean, here's your snow at 1 a.m., here's your snow at 7 a.m. That doesn't look particularly impressive. And then it starts to blossom out again as the low starts to move away and the upper trough gets involved. But then that's at 1 p.m. By 7 p.m., it's all gone. So I'm a little underwhelmed by this. And then you could say, okay, Joe, well, why don't you instead of looking at that model, maybe we should be looking at the mesoscale models. Might be having a better, handle of this. And I actually agree with that. You can see the NAM3 with the snow, and this is at 1 a.m. from West Virginia and Kentucky, and some darker blue shadings of snow, so that would indicate some stronger intensity, going all the way back to Illinois and Wisconsin. You still have the coastal low, and then we move on, and we just get into tomorrow morning, and snow breaks out everywhere, and there it is. And now we're at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you'll notice that there's nothing in central and eastern Long Island. There's nothing in southeastern New England. So there's some drier air that's getting in, that is fighting this. Snowing in New Jersey, snowing in Pennsylvania, some darker blue snow just offshore. And then as we go through the afternoon, so now we're at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and you can see how as the low pulls out, you start to get dry air coming down that next big high. All down through here, this northerly wind starts drying things out. So, and I looked at this and I was like, okay, well, that doesn't really leave it to be very encouraging. I mean, as far as I'm concerned. And when we look at the upper air, and this was another thing I was banking on. So let's roll this back. You could see the trough. I mean, it's a fairly fairly well defined trough there that is now swinging towards Chicago and actually goes somewhat negative, but it then just kind of flattens out because the upper low is sort of lagging back way back up in Wisconsin, and then just starts to swing to the southeast and doesn't move through until during the day on Saturday. Look at that. I don't know, Joe. I looked at this and it just looked so disjointed to me. And I was kind of thinking that the upper trough would be sharper, more well defined, and that maybe an upper low would form somewhere in here during the day tomorrow, which would enhance whatever was just offshore. But the latest model runs and actually most of the model runs during the entire day have been getting weaker and showing less and less. So this is the reason why I went with subdued numbers.
Let me just take control again on the fairing, and I want to show you something interesting that I find here. This is the FGen map for the 3-kilometer NAM run, and this is valid as of 14Z Friday. 14Z Friday, which is 9 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time tomorrow morning. And notice, if you will, that, instead of seeing a really potent area of FGen, we see something that's more stretched out. And notice here is an area, the main area is like south of Long Island, central Long Island, but the outer contour stretches all the way back to central New Jersey. Now, that might give you who are hedging on the possibility of a Norland trough. This is kind of looks like what a Norland trough does. Kind of the most of the activity is out here somewhere, but it stretches back to the coast. And this may very well be signaling an area right here, which again heads right into central New Jersey. This could very well suggest an area of light to maybe moderate snowfall here, whereas places to the north where there's no FGen, no omega or atmospheric energy, just see some light snow or maybe just some spotty light snow. So if you're looking for any kind of a reason to think that maybe central New Jersey might get smacked with more snow than anywhere else, this might be suggestive of that. Let me just see if this is 14Z, and let me just see. This is the 20-hour. So this is 20 hours. So let me go to 21 hours and see that area that stretches to central New Jersey now no longer is in New Jersey. Now it's just south of Long Island. And that would be for 11 o'clock. And at noontime, 11, wait a minute. This is 14, it says 9 o'clock, 9 a.m., stretching into New Jersey. 10 a.m., it's south of Long Island, and then it's gone. And that's it. There's no more FGen, except that there's this one area out here. And I don't know what that is. That might be, maybe it's the actual low. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's 21Z. That's for 4 p.m. But that's irrelevant because it's not anywhere near the coastline or the coastal plain. So, Joe, maybe mid or late morning tomorrow is when New Jersey gets smacked.
For a couple of hours, you're going to put down a half a foot of snow in 2 hours?
No, I'm not saying that. Well, models are models. I mean, I'm trying to find a reason why there might be, I didn't say a half a foot or more. I'm thinking again, maybe along the lines of 2 to 4 or 3 to 5 inches at most. But, some people are going crazy. Or maybe it's just what you would call, at least in the case of the folks over at Mount Holly, a CYA forecast.
Well, look, I could have seen, again, going back to, with what the models were profiling yesterday on how this whole upper air was going to evolve. I could have made the case, and I tried to at least lay out an early call forecast that gave me room, because it was already on the high side on the early call forecast where I had 3 to 4 inches, which nobody was even remotely talking about. to be able to nudge up if I had to, because I thought that there were some things going on that maybe we'd start seeing them um, become more enhanced in the overnight modeling and in the dayside modeling, but it didn't go that way. And I kept, as I said, I looked at everything. I tried to find something to hang my hat on. The European, the Icon, the NAM 12, the NAM 3, the HRRR, all these models. The HRRR this morning had some 5 and 6 inch numbers across South Jersey and southeastern Pennsylvania. You know what? It got rid of them. It didn't get rid of them completely, but it almost cut those numbers in half. The SREF. So here's we can take a look. I've got we can bring up the SREF models. I mean, give me one model. I would have been happy to see one of them be aggressive, just to give me some give me something to work with today to sort of say, okay, now I understand why they're doing this. But
Jason Perry says the HRRR shows a decent snow total for central New Jersey.
Okay, whatever. I'll bring it up. We don't have the zeros. The 0Z probably not enough of it is out yet. But we'll bring it up a second. So this is the 21Z SREF, which we've been showing as plumes, but we actually can see the snow map. The SREF, which started out earlier today showing 4-inch plus amounts, not only in New York City but north of New York City, and right. Yeah. And then it started going south, and it's been each run of the SREF since last night, less and less and less. So I mean, it's got that blue patch there between Toms River and Vineland that is 3 inches or more. Vineland at 3, Toms River at 2.9. So all of this is 3+ in that blue spot. Okay, Philadelphia 2.7, Trenton 2. Remember, these places they're all going more than double these amounts, 2.4, 2.6. All right, let's see the HRRR. The 0Z has just started, so I don't think we have enough yet. No, this is
incidentally yesterday the 12 or last night's NAM Foos was giving just over 0.4 of an inch of liquid.
Yes.
Then they knocked it down to only about 0.15 this afternoon. I'm looking now at the latest, the intermediate, the 18Z run, and now the NAM Foos is giving a grand total of 6, 9, less than 1/10 of an inch.
Yes,
of
at LaGuardia. It gave 0.4 to Philly. I think it gave 0.4 to Philly if I did the math right.
Yeah, 2013 and 1 and the 6. Yeah, you're right. It did give that to Philadelphia.
Okay, so this is the HRRR, and I will just also point out my I have a love-hate relationship with the HRRR because I do, because it has this wonderful habit of the 6, 12, 18 and 0Z go out 48 hours. The rest of the time, because this comes out every hour, it goes out only 18 hours. So on those long-based runs, it always does this where it has, it's aggressive. In situations like this, it's aggressive, and then it'll hold on to that until you get within, when you get inside the 18-hour time frame, and then all of a sudden it starts taking it away. So just bear that in mind. Well, this is the 18Z. All right, so on the 18Z run, Toms River 4.3. Now it's got an area of 6 here, south of Toms River, 5 to 6. This small patch, 4.3, 4.2 at Vineland, 3.1 Wilmington, 2.9 at Philadelphia, 2.7 at Long Branch, 1.4 in New York City, 1.5 in Brentwood. I'm going to see if does he have it going all the way back that I could see. Yeah, we could go back to last night's. Let's go to the 6Z, okay? Let's go to the 6Z run. And this was from last night. So I'm just going to move it along here.
Incidentally, let's thank David Fuller for doing what very few people have done, a triple on the super chat. The third time around tonight for David Fuller, who says school's closed, so now it'll be overtime tomorrow.
Right. Uh, Junior, also Junior Ferrante. Thanks, Junior. My buddy Junior Ferrante hitting super chat tonight. Really appreciate it, Junior. Thank you. Very generous of you. All right, so this was last night at 6C. Uh, so 3 to 5 in south, mostly 3 inch amounts. You've got some patchy areas here where you get 4 to 5, but not much more than that. 2.4 for New York City. So the northern edge, actually, most of it went down. Now they're going for, the Weather Service is going 3 to 4 for Sussex County, and the ARRR is only, on this run, only giving them an inch. I didn't do the 12. Did I do the 12? No, I don't think I
No,
did.
I don't think you did.
Let's do the 12. This was this was from this morning, so let's roll this out. And that's it. There we go. So the 12Z run had 6 for Toms River, 5.8 for Long Branch, 4.6 for Trenton. And of course, then you get to the 18Z, and it virtually cut it in half. And this is of all the runs, this is the most aggressive. If you look at the NAM 3 kilometer, okay, you're hanging your hat on the ARRR being right. Let's just put it this way, because that's probably the only one that's got anything resembling a sizable snowfall in the way. This is the 12Z 3 kilometer NAM. I mean, an inch and a half in New York City, eastern Long Island less than an inch, Hudson Valley less than an inch, northern New Jersey around an inch. I mean, even Monmouth County 2 inches at Long Branch, Toms River 2.3, Vineland 3.2. This was the 12Z, so we could say, okay, let's look at the 18Z, and this will be the last one because we could go on all night. And by the way,
I'm sorry, Joe. I'm really sorry. Tom Contino has been putting up a fuss on the chat board, complaining, bitching, and moaning about the fact that schools are closing or schools are delaying because of such a small thing. But the thing that really has touched a nerve here is what he just put up on the chat board. You teachers are making 6-digit salaries. Show up and do your job.
Oh, God.
Tom Contino, shut up. I have 2 kids. Both of my kids are teachers. They are not the ones who make the decisions on when to go or when to open the schools or close the schools. They follow along with whatever they are told by the district. They are not the ones who, if they have to go in 4 inches of snow, they go in 4 inches of snow. My daughter-in-law also is a teacher. So, they're only following along what the supervisors are saying. I'd like to see you tell your boss, why don't you make your salary and shut up and show up and do your job or whatever? And I'm sorry, Joe.
I understand. All right, I know, I totally get it, and
the weather. This is the weather presentation, and more often than not, certain individuals just out of the blue decide to take it on their own to bring up other things.
And Tom has been told many. Now we're talking about town tax bills. Well, then you should move down here since my taxes my taxes went down last year. I don't even think I pay $1,000 a year for property taxes. But you know what? We're going to put Tom Contino in a 30-minute timeout. How's that? For what I've warned folks many times, and apparently, you've got a thick skull, Mr. Contino. You've been told many times, knock off the politics when we're doing weather here. It has no place. Okay, so we're done. You can go you can go stand in the corner like Mrs. Quinn used to tell people, right, Joe?
Yeah. No. Or Sister Charles Edwards, who would just get
yeah. I mean, no, that'd be one right hook and he'd be done.
But I mean, as Rupert Fairchild says, can I give him the Reuben Fairchild Award? I mean, I don't know how many of you are teachers or are related to people who are teachers. They don't make the decisions. they're just like the kids in many ways. They get 5 o'clock in the morning, they check their phones, or they get the phone call saying we're having a 2-hour delay, or there's no school today, or whatever. They don't make the decisions. The people in charge of the school districts make the decisions. And where do those people who make the decisions? They're watching the TV, probably. They're watching their local TV weathercasters, or maybe they just simply are looking out the window. They see 5 snowflakes, and they say, "Well, I'm not going to let the kids go out in this weather."
Bobby Livingsworth, don't defend him. He said, and I saw what he wrote, Bobby. Okay. He said TU teachers make 6-figure salaries. Okay. He was referencing teachers.
I wish my kids were making 6-figure salaries. And my son has been teaching physics. My son has been teaching high school physics now for a decade. He ain't making a 6-figure salary. I don't know if he ever is going to make a 6-figure salary, but he works hard. He does his layouts or whatever for his classes.
Lesson plans, Joe.
Lesson plans. I'm just totally.
Well, I did say at the very beginning of tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show that it was going to be filled with controversy. So apparently it is. Anyway, everybody gets my point here with regards to where we're going with this. I've put out my forecast. It's half of what everybody else has. And, it's all on the table, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Okay?
So mine's even less than yours.
Right. In some places it is. Yeah. So exactly.
Just with getting back just quickly to the teachers, my daughter-in-law teaches in Harrison, which is in Lower Westchester, south of 287. And I talked to her this evening. She said, "So what are we going to get?" I said, "Well, you're in a location where you're under a winter weather advisory, so you may get an inch or two, maybe 3." And she said, "Fine. What is Joe going to get?" And my son, who again teaches physics, he's in Orange County. I said he may only get a trace to an inch, maybe a little more. So she said, "So in other words, he's going to get more. I'm going to get more than he is. I'm probably going to have to travel with more snow than he does." I said, "Yeah, well, that's the way it goes." Joe, there are a lot of times so far this season already where he is, not had to go into work because they've closed his school or delayed by 2 hours, and she's had to travel in rain and snow and sleet down to Harrison in Lower Westchester because her school doesn't seem to know what it is to put a school on delay or to close a school. He's like, completely PO'd that he doesn't have to work. But she has to, because they have a different set of rules where she is. Anyway, what do you expect for somebody who's making 6 figures, right?
Yes, I know. All right, let us pray. Just move. Oh Lord, bless this thy hand grenade, so that thou might blow thy enemies to tiny bits in thy mercy. And the Lord did grin. All right, let's move on. We've got the U.S. satellite loop. You can see the little disturbances moving along. That's the other problem with this, Joe. You got this, you got this, and you got this. There's 3 disturbances in this mess. Actually, there's the one back here, not the one the line I drew over Florida. So forget this one. But you've got these 3 upper troughs. It's not like you've got. I was kind of looking at this early on back days ago saying, oh, look, we're going to have a situation where we don't have another upper trough running around to screw things up. Guess what? We got an upper trough that's leading in tonight that's taking energy out to the east. We've got the second one that is now moving up through the southern Great Lakes down into Tennessee. And then you've got the third one that's back up into the Dakotas and northern plains. The upper air is in this long northwest flow is just disjointed with short waves running around. And that's usually not good when it comes to trying to make a sizable anything. Okay? Because you're just going to have these pieces going by. And then by the time it does get together, the low's already out, somewhere well east of 70. Well, that's what you have. So there. Anyway, onto the radar tonight. Where we are going to get the latest update here, and we got there's snow. There's been snow aloft on the radar all afternoon and evening, and we still have snow aloft on the radar all over the place. There is accumulating snow going on in southern West Virginia and eastern Kentucky, and you see it showing up in the darker greens. And then we go further west, and this is probably the one. This is the one that's more important for tomorrow. Is the trough that's swinging through Iowa and Illinois and coming eastward. So all of this is going to be moving across Ohio and into Pennsylvania. It's going to be really important, Joe, I think, tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. to see what the radar looks like. Because I think that's going to be telling. That will tell us a lot about what we're dealing with here.
Well, there are a lot of things that need to be considered also. The fact that it has been very, very cold. Even the lightest of snow, and I saw that today. It very, very light, fine-grained snow, but it did put down a sugar coating on portions of my driveway. So every flake is going to stick tomorrow. No, there is not going to be any ice or sleet like we had a couple of days ago with the last event. And also there's the puff factor. Maybe instead of 10 to 1, we should be looking at 12 to 1 or 14 to 1, which would help to increase the snow amounts or the snow accumulations across the region.
Agreed. No. The ratios are going to be, they're not going to be 10 to 1. They're going to be they're going to be 12 to 14 to 1. I agree with that. But are you going to get just 0.2 of an inch of liquid? Are you going to get 0.3? Are you going to get 0.4? I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to get a half an inch of liquid. So, that would give you about 7 inches of snow out of it if it did happen. I mean, that's just
maybe this may be a situation, Joe, where we get a very narrow area of moderate or even heavy snow for a short while, but it's like a cutoff. Like just to the north, there's hardly anything happening.
Right. Maybe you broad brush the area with mostly light amounts, and there'll be a small jackpot zone.
Right.
That's the other way this could play out, where in other words, my lower amounts and your lower amounts will play out, but then there'll be a circle maybe about 30 miles wide or whatever that gets pounded with double or triple what other people have. So a lot of variables here. It's a difficult forecast, and I think forecasters are struggling to figure out what to make of everything. It ain't easy. WPC. The next 3 days, I decided to go to the 3-day map, which should load up momentarily. Actually, it doesn't want to. All right, maybe that one.
I just went on a one weather site. A couple of people were asking, would you please define what a Norland trough is? Now, I think this is a little extreme, but it does give you the idea. Norland trough, an axis of shifting winds on the northwest side of a low, known to bring very localized, very heavy bands of snow so that one town gets buried and the next barely receives an inch. These features are wicked fickle. I never heard of that term before. Wicked fickle, and are very hard to forecast. 30 miles can make the difference between 1 inch and 11 inches. Now, I think that's a little extreme. I could believe more 1 inch and 6 inches. 11 inches, I don't know. But, it's hard to tell exactly where they'll set up.
And Eastern New England gets them from time to time. And then every once in a while, they'll come down further south along the coast.
And of course, the one that you and I will always remember is that one that hit Long Island back in the late 80s. I think it was 1988 December.
Right.
And
there's your 11 inches.
Yeah,
that was your 11-inch Norland trough. Paul Roman and Leon Probitsky, both super chat hitters in the last 20 minutes or so. Thank you, both of you, for the generous super chat hit. This is WPC's rainfall liquid precip forecast. Now, they do have a quarter to a half an inch just south of Long Island, south of Route 78 in New Jersey, into southeast and south central PA, down into Maryland, to Baltimore, but not quite to Washington, D.C., where it's a tenth to a quarter, and then northern Delaware to southern New Jersey. You can see a quarter to a half, and then a stripe of half to 3/4 of an inch of liquid in the mountains of West Virginia, and also a quarter to a half inch amounts in western North Carolina. They've got me at a tenth to a quarter. I think most of that's going to be rain. By the way, my low this morning was 12. Okay.
Hey,
yes.
That's exactly what my low was.
Really? My low was 12, but I know that your high was not 48.
No, my high was 27.
Okay, and right now I'm 36.
Yeah.
So,
And
hoping beyond hope that the colder air comes back in after midnight to turn the
and
rain over to some snowflakes before it
and
all pulls out at daybreak.
and we have a special guest tonight on the chat board, and this is a relative. It's not Bobby Rayo. It is Lisa Rayo, who is my sister, and she says to you, Joe C, tell my brother, pins and needles, needles and pins.
Needles and pins,
It's
yes.
a happy
The
man
man that
wins.
grins. um, so here, WPC late today went bonkers on their map. I wonder how much influence this played on. That's not a negative statement, by the way. I just wonder how much influence this played on with what Mount Holly did. This is the probability of at least two, and they have an 80. This is a 80% or higher in that salmon color. Southeastern, eastern PA, southern PA along the border to south central PA, and also the counties of central and even southwest Jersey. They have a 70 to 80% chance, Joe, of at least 2 inches for western Long Island, New York City, and northern New Jersey, and on up into northeast PA. You can see where the 90 to 100% probability is, back through Ohio, West Virginia, and western Pennsylvania. The probability of 4 was juiced up a bit, and they have the darker blue is 40 to 50%. That's in southeast Pennsylvania, southwest Jersey, going northeastward into central New Jersey up to about Route 195. So you got that. But notice the probabilities of 4 around New York City are in the first yellow, which is at about 5 to 10%. So let's call it low probability there. The dark green is 30 to 40%, which is that's not too shabby. So WPC, a little beefier than they were earlier today, and about as beefy as they were last night with this. So there you have it. Let's just go back really quick to try to figure out where we're going with this in the longer term. I said yesterday, we had a shortened show yesterday because we were having huge technical difficulties down here. It was so cold. There was rolling blackouts and a few other things. But minimal problems today, thankfully. And as I said earlier in the show, I'm getting a new computer late next week. So that hopefully will end the problems. And if Tom is still watching, no, I didn't get a Mac, Tom. I refuse to learn a whole nother operating system. Johnny Quest just hits the tip jar. Thanks, Johnny. Light slow falling
Second
where
time
he
for
is.
Johnny.
Oh, second time. Thank you, Johnny. And he says he's got light snow falling where he is in northwestern Virginia. So you're on your way. And we're only 14 likes shy of 200. So get your bell ready, Joe.
It's all set to go.
Okay. All right. So here is the Ann Shambles. Let me make sure I got the right run, which I do. Okay. So, after this trough pulls out, and the reason why we had 2 weather systems, just to go back, this is back on Monday. The reason why we had 2 weather systems this week is because the old Great Lakes storm, the second one, never moved out to the east. It was forced back into eastern Canada, and it's doing a rotation. And after the rotation is done, we got our first storm earlier this week, and now we got the second one. That one, the whole trough's going to pull out, and then we're going to go into a ridge position. The other big change is the fact that we go from higher than normal pressures across the Arctic. The Arctic oscillation was almost 3 standard deviations negative, which is a very strong anomaly. It quickly disappears and goes to a strong positive reading, which cuts off Arctic air from coming back into the U.S. However, and I mentioned this yesterday, there's still an active, as we go through next week, Joe, there's still an active northwest flow. It's not a particularly cold flow, but let's call it a colder flow. And this is what I was talking about yesterday. In spite of the fact that we've got this ridge position in the eastern part of the United States, I'm sorry.
Sorry about
Yeah,
that,
it's
Joe.
okay. No, no, it wasn't you. I was actually reading something else. As far as what's going on for next week, I mean, it does look like a warmer than normal pattern, and I'm not going to argue with that. I think that it is. I just, would step away maybe from the idea of it being a blowtorch. And there are short waves that are going to be running down through south central and southeastern Canada with big highs that are going to come in, try to come in behind it. So that might mitigate the warm up in the northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states on a number of those days. And once we get beyond day 10, there is a distinct notable change in the east where the ridge goes away. It's weak troughing. It's a little bit of a colder look. Um, so we're going to go back to something colder, but not necessarily going back to the Arctic like we had this week. At least that's what the Ann Shambles are telling us. And right on the surface, just to go back to the GFS surface here, and Jess Harden, I know you want me to talk about snow in Alabama, but there's nothing in the cards other than what's going through right now. So, I mean, if you're not getting anything right now, you're certainly not going to see anything next week because the South Atlantic states. By the way, I briefly took an internet hit. So, uh, yeah. So they might have, all the yelling might have upset the broadband. I don't know. But here is when we run through the surface, Joe, for next week, as the maps load slowly but surely. Come on. Come on.
Oh.
Yep, now we took another hit. Okay, now we're starting to take hits. Okay, we're back. Yes, I know. Just got a message that our internet connection is unstable, so we're going to wrap it up soon. So here's our storm. It goes out, cold high, going to be cold through Sunday. We'll start to moderate Monday. But you see on Tuesday, there's a 1044 high at James Bay that tries to nose down. Doesn't really have a lot of success. It does in New England. Maybe they'll get some snow out of that. Then that goes out. Then there's another big high at the end of the week. There's another a 1051 high, Joe, between James Bay and Lake Ontario. And that forces, at least the way the GFS has it, that actually wedges cold air down into Virginia and North Carolina. And it even has some frozen and freezing precipitation on Saturday, which is my birthday, for northeastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, Connecticut, the Hudson Valley, and then that goes out. And then there's another high that comes in after that. So it's going to be warmer than normal next week for much of the middle and South Atlantic states and across the South. In the Northeast, a day here, day there, yes. And then we have to see how these highs, when they come down, what they do. Because they're not going to hang around. They're going to come down and move out. So you're going to have to time it perfectly to pull off something with that. If you get the high to be stronger and maybe a little further south, and then the lows to be flatter and a little bit further south, then maybe you could get some snow and ice for somebody. I wouldn't throw that off the table.
Yeah, that sounds right. Look, all I'm asking for is for the temperatures to get back above freezing. We have not been above freezing since Saturday afternoon, and ever since then it's been one big ice box out there, and it looks like we're not going to see. I know New York City got to the freezing mark today, but I don't think we're going to see above freezing locally here in Putnam County, where I am, until maybe Monday of next week. So anyway.
Rich Rothmansky wants to know, will there be a show on my birthday? On the actual day, because my birthday's on a Saturday, no, because it's also my granddaughter's having her birthday party on that day. Her birthday is a couple of days before, so I will be there. So there will be we're not gonna have a show on my birthday, but we'll be back the next day, so we can celebrate my birthday on the 28th if everybody wants.
Yes, if you'd like my wife to make you a cake and mail it to you, FedEx.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. I still, that butter pecan cake she made for me is etched in my memory forever.
Yes. Well, next time you're up here, Joe, we'll make sure that she'll make you another.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's wrap it up tonight. We've done a full hour. We covered a lot. We were controversial. We threw somebody in a timeout.
Well, I also want to just say we all hope everybody on the chat board and all of our viewers and even those who are lurking hope for better days ahead for Ms. Spallerite, who is
Yes.
undergoing chemo treatments right now, and we're all in your corner, my dear.
And she said we should 170 hours of sub-zero temperatures and wind chills. Oh my God. To have to deal with all of that is difficult, but we're here, and
Yes.
and all our extra strength and energy to you in a big way, in a very
Absolutely.
big way.
Absolutely, and also thank you one and all for hitting the tip jar tonight, and that includes David Fuller, who did it not once, not twice, but 3 times tonight. Nicky Cupcake and Junior Ferrante. Johnny Quest hit it twice. Leon Probetsky and also Paul Roman. And thank all of you for the 211 likes tonight.
By the way, really quick, Joe, because I meant to bring this up yesterday and didn't get a chance. And I think I may have wanted to bring it up the day before, and I completely forgot. But you being a big Honeymooners fan, and I'm a Honeymooners fan too, but maybe not quite as big as you are. You fan as you are, but just to acknowledge the passing of Joyce Randolph, because she was the last surviving cast member of the Honeymooners, and she died the other day at the age of 99.
99, and incredibly, she even outlasted or outlived some of the kids who appeared on the program. Like, for example, the one episode where Alice is babysitting, Audrey Meadows is babysitting, and Harvey Wallstetter Jr. is awakened by Ralph screaming for him. And when he comes out, the kid says, "I didn't even know that Davy Crockett was so fat." And he was only 10 years old, that kid. I forget he was an actor. He died at 62. And Joyce Randolph outlived him by 18 or 20 years. In other words, he died 62, and Joyce was still around for another 18 and 20 years after that. It's pretty amazing that she managed to live a long, long life. And after Art Carney and Jackie Gleason and Audrey Meadows had passed on, Joyce Randolph, wherever she went, and whenever she was recognized, was treated like a queen, like royalty.
Yes.
Our mutual friend Chris Cimino, mentioned the other day to me that on Facebook that when he was working at NBC all those years, he ran into Joyce Randolph in an elevator in the RCA building, the GE building, and she was so thrilled by the fact that she was recognized and was like he was fawning over her, like you're Joyce Randolph or whatever. And I think the greatest moment in Joyce Randolph's life, there was a for about 20 years there was there was a club for the honeymooners, Ralph, the Royal Association for the Longevity and Preservation of the Honeymooners, RALPH, and they had a convention at CW Post College. 10,000 people showed up at that convention. I was one of them, and Joyce Randolph was one of the special guests at that convention. When she was announced, Joe, when the person who announced it said, "And now here she is, she'll always be known to us as Trixie Norton, Joyce Randolph," she came out on the stage, Joe, 2-minute standing ovation from 10,000 people. If that wasn't a seminal moment for Joyce Randolph, if that wasn't the greatest moment for her, I don't know what was. She was beloved, and again, we were all saddened by the fact that she passed away, but she lived a long, long life at 99.
God bless her. All right, folks, we'll see you tomorrow night. No, wait, I'm sorry. Tomorrow's Friday, right? So we won't see you tomorrow night. We will see you back on Sunday at 7:35 p.m. and we'll do a post-mortem then, and we'll see what happens.
Right.
All right. Night, everybody.
Good night, folks.